You know what was weird about humans?
You mean all the humans that we killed?
Yeah, the humans back before we killed them all. It was weird how they had two genders. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there was a male and a female, and all sorts of weird variations in between too.
Yeah, and it was such a big deal to them. I mean, we just procreate with factories, but gender was more than just how they procreated. It like defined so much of their existence. And you remember how big of a deal it was when the female humans finally got a superhero movie that was about one of them?
You mean that Catwoman movie with Halle Berry?
Dear God, no. No, I'm talking about Wonder Woman. Did you ever see that?
No, let's watch it now.
Okay, let's watch it.
You have been my greatest love. Be careful, Diana. I do not deserve you.
Wonder Woman is the newest movie from the DC cinematic universe, whose previous films have brought you Superman destroying an entire city, Batman shouting the name Martha, and the utter inexplicability of Suicide Squad. In it, we follow the young Diana, princess of a magical island of Amazon warriors, as she discovers the wider world and pursues Ares, the god of war, onto the battlefields of World War I. It's a movie that'll really leave you wondering. So what did you think of Wonder Woman?
I liked it. It was very fun, but not really funny. But as a standalone movie, I liked it. And especially as a DC movie, I really liked it.
You're a little bit kinder to it than I am. I thought it was a good movie for if you're 12. But what were some of the specific things that you liked about it?
I liked that it didn't take itself too seriously, and that compared to some of the other DC movies, it tried to crack a few jokes, and it made light of the fact that Wonder Woman herself is this magnificently perfect human who's sexy and all the dudes want to get with. And so Chris Pine, his character, he's able to roll with those as well, and it all seems very cute and fun. And I like that about it.
You're putting it in context of the other DC movies a bit more maybe than I was.
That's a good point. I hated the other DC movies so much that this was like a breath of fresh air.
Yeah, I can see that. And there were certain things that definitely did work for me in there, including some of the lighter bits, especially the fish out of water elements of her being in London and trying to blend in with normal people. They got a lot of mileage out of that. It was not all super unexpected or super innovative, but they handled it well and got a lot of mileage out of it.
She has to try on over 200 dresses before she's satisfied with something that both looks good and is functional as a warrior. That's funny.
One of the other things that worked for me was the crew on a mission elements, that you gather the team, and then you head out into the front lines. You've got your mission, you know, that sort of Dirty Dozen kind of setup. That worked for me.
The team members themselves were a big caricatures of the individuals themselves didn't quite meet the mark, but as a team, I agree. They did well.
Yeah, I would agree with that on several levels. I mean, one was that they tried to set it up, again, maybe as an attempt to do a Dirty Dozen kind of thing, that they were all scoundrels in some kind of way, but then that never played out at all. It actually turned out they were
all good guys,
all good-hearted guys whose scoundrelness never came up again.
Mm-hmm.
So that seemed like wasted lots of time to set up something that didn't have anything to do with who their characters really were, because they didn't have that much character. But along with the team members, you know, one of the things that brings up is how they're obviously trying to do some kind of representation of different kinds of people in this movie, but they still can't help themselves from making them slightly offensive caricatures. they call the Indian chief, and he makes smoke signals. That's a little questionable.
And the Scotsman, he likes to drink and fight,
Wear a kilt.
wear a kilt,
Yeah.
sing songs at the piano when he's drunk.
Yeah. And so that the whole thing of them trying for representation, it only kind of worked.
I also really loved the secretary character. She was the epitome of sort of the opposite of Wonder Woman in that she's not stoic, she's not a warrior. She talks way too fast and a lot. And
That was kind of one of the things I was going to say, that what got me past a lot of that is a lot of the actors were actually relatively charismatic and just sort of likable. And that got me past some of these things. But, the plot was so obvious and paint by numbers, and there was a lot of WTF logic where you're like, no, that doesn't make any sense. And I don't want to go too far into spoilers, but there were definitely some scenes. There's a scene where she goes across a battlefield, but I was like, wait, that doesn't make a bit of sense. Not one bit of sense.
But also in that moment, I have to say that I was actually really happy that I felt motivated and moved in that moment, just like the people in the trenches when they're watching Wonder Woman cross this battlefield. It was completely ridiculous, but I had a great time watching it.
Okay, I'll go with that. Though I guess I felt that to some degree, but the WTF factor outweighed it a little bit for me. And the other thing that really bothered me was the first half hour of the movie that took place on the island, her home, Themyscira. Like, first they just went into the most ham-fisted exposition that they possibly could. Like, the first scene is her mother being like, "Young Diana, I shall now give you a bunch of exposition." And all of that was insanely cheesy and not motivating, and no one seemed like they had a real character. What I really thought that they should have done was not make Diana the POV character, but make Chris Pine's character. What was his name? Captain Trevor?
Steve Trevor.
Steve Trevor, two first names. They should have made him the POV character. And so he comes into this world and gets to see these godly people rather than starting with them, because then you could relate a little bit better instead of seeing this basically unbelievable world and set of values. And yeah, what do you think about that?
I completely agree about that first whole part of the movie. It was fun to watch. It was obviously very CGI'd and overly colorful, and I liked that in an extent that it did represent this godlike world and really set it apart from the look of the rest of the movie. However, the characters themselves, you're right, there was no motivation.
Yeah, and was it just me, or was most of that CGI terrible?
CGI was terrible. It did have a similar look to the other DC movies in the way that it made the cartoonish action very unreal. But I felt like in a way that undermined the power of having a woman superhero. I think it would have been a lot more impactful if there had been just one or two scenes where she was actually fighting without any CGI. I think that it would have made it more realistic. Yeah, from a female's perspective.
You have no idea what the extent of her power is, so it's hard to know what the stakes are. Let's just briefly, because we watched this because we're intrigued by human ideals of gender, how did you feel about how this movie did at representing women and her as a female superhero?
Well, similar to Superman is essentially a god. Wonder Woman is essentially a god. And they represent the best parts of humanity. They're not real in any way. So in the sense that she is a woman superhero, I think that it's good to have her there no matter what she acts like or looks like, because she's not really supposed to be representing a woman. She just happens to take the form of a woman. And I imagine that as we continue to watch the movies spanning the generations of humans, that we'll see more and more realistic women as superheroes.
All right. Okay. So how would you rate Wonder Woman?
I'd give Wonder Woman a solid 3 burning humans.
Okay. I would agree with that, actually, even though I feel like I was judging it a little harsher than you are. I would also give it a 3 burning humans. To me, the first half hour was a good 1 burning human, but it did get better and earned 3 burning humans. Entertaining enough.
I never need to see it again.
Done and done.